The CoreconLink for Sage Intacct utility is a bridge between Corecon and Sage Intacct. This link utility maintains consistency across an organization. This training video is designed to show you how to set up this CoreconLink for Sage Intacct utility. The bridge acts as a mapping between Corecon and Sage Intacct, and how that link is set up is crucial to information flowing to the right locations in Sage Intacct. It would be good to familiarize yourself with a business process diagram found in the knowledge base, which shows what information flows and in which direction. Some of the lines you see on this diagram have arrows on both ends. That means information is going to flow both directions. Some of the lines on the diagram show data flowing one direction. So, for example, contact management, companies and contacts will sync between Corecon and Sage Intacct. If someone updates an address or phone number for a company, that information will be picked up and you'll be prompted to update the information on the other side, and vice versa. Other record and transactions flow one direction. For example, a prime contract flows from Corecon to Sage Intacct. The budgets or estimates flow from Corecon to Sage Intacct. Change orders, prime invoices, POs, bills, subcontracts, subcontract change orders, and sub-invoices also flow from Corecon to Sage Intacct. Some examples of information that flows from Sage Intacct back to Corecon includes the posted payment information for accounts payable and prime invoices. There are a few things to take into consideration before you begin this process. Resources such as customer companies, vendor companies, and your employees will be able to import from Sage Intacct into Corecon. It's a good practice to clean up those three lists before that information is imported into Corecon. Remember, the information in Corecon should be those companies and contacts related specifically to construction, and only if they're active. Sage Intacct does not push existing or ongoing projects and contract information back to Corecon. So for this reason, we encourage you to concentrate on new awarded projects that are set up in Corecon going forward. If you're already using Sage Intacct, the legacy projects can be finished out directly in Sage Intacct. Sage Intacct also provides you with a master or standard cost code list. These are used for categorizing work. They're used in estimating, project management, and accounting. And to make sure the information flows easily from Corecon to Sage Intacct, we encourage you to import those same cost codes or standard cost code set that you're already using in Sage Intacct over to Corecon. Corecon provides knowledge base articles that will help with this. There's also up to 8 dimensions available in Sage Intacct. The primary in relation to the CoreconLink is classes. If you've set up classes in Sage Intacct, you'll want to also go to global settings and set those up in Corecon as well. There's also some reminders of setting up data in Corecon before you begin the CoreconLink setup. For example, you're going to want to lock transactions in Corecon after they've been exported, and a global settings option in Corecon will allow that to happen. There's also export rules for POs and bill types, so adding these PO and bill types in Corecon to match those in Sage Intacct is crucial. Information is posted from Corecon to Sage Intacct based on the project cost codes or the internal division codes, which should match master cost codes in Sage Intacct. To set up the CoreconLink to Sage Intacct, you'll need to log into Corecon as an administrator. You can click on the Global Settings button up here at the top right-hand corner, and then click on Company Settings, Profile, and navigate to the External Applications. You'll want to make sure that the accounting system is set to Sage Intacct, and remember to click Save when you're done. Next, log out of Corecon, close the browser completely, open the browser again and log into CoreCon. Once that's complete, you'll see this small icon on your main menu. Now we can click that to take a look at the CoreconLink utility. The first time you log into the CoreconLink to Sage Intacct, you will be prompted to log into Sage Intacct as well. It's also important to remember that only the administrator and financial administrator security roles can use the CoreconLink to Sage Intacct. There is a video that accompanies this one that's going to cover the sync process. This video is about posting preferences, basically the setup. We're going to work our way across the top of this menu and discuss the settings and options that you'll have available when you set this up for the first time. Under the Contact Management tab, this is going to determine how information is updated between customers, vendors, and employees. You'll have the option to make Sage or CoreCon as master. That means that if the updates are made in either of these, that's the information that will pull to the opposite side. We recommend, however, that you use the last modified entity as master. That way, information such as the company address and company phone number can be updated on either side of the CoreconLink utility. Same is true for vendors and employees. This is very basic information, basically address and phone number. Next, we'll go to the Resource and Dimensions tab. This tab is necessary because Sage Intacct can track financials for multiple entities or even offices with different federal tax ID numbers. Contractors and construction subcontractors with multiple entities will want to select either specify entity at the time of project creation or specify entity based on project classification. Subscribers with only one entity may want to choose the create project at top level. I'm going to choose specify entity at time of project creation. You can also set a default entity if there's more than one. You can choose to set up individual prime contracts under a project as sub-projects. I'm going to select no on that one. Both CoreCon and Sage Intacct provide cost resource types. Here we're mapping those between the two software. CoreCon provides 5: materials, labor, equipment, subcontract, and other. When you're pulling down these options, you're going to be seeing the options available in Sage Intacct. You also have an option for class mapping logic. I'm going to choose not to use that feature. Under cost code mapping, you'll have several options. One is to match data in CoreCon by cost code to the data in Sage Intacct with an exact match. This will be the job cost codes. You also have an option to map data to Sage Intacct based on job cost code divisions only, or you can map all cost code data to a single Intacct cost code. I'm going to choose the second option. If there's ever a situation where cost code is not found when exported to Sage Intacct, you can also select a cost code that will act as a repository for unclassified transactions. Next, we're going to the Accounts Payable tab. It's important to note that Sage Intacct uses transaction definitions, which are user-defined and contain the accounting rules, workflow settings, security settings, and other characteristics for a transaction. Each CoreCon procurement-related transaction can be mapped to a Sage Intacct transaction definition. In addition, POs and bills can be mapped on a more granular level by using the PO type and the bill type respectively. Most of these are matched up one-to-one, so CoreCon POs to purchase orders, subcontracts to subcontracts, SCOs to subcontract change orders, CoreCon bills to vendor invoices, CoreCon bills from POs to vendor invoices. This one is a little different. Make special note, please. CoreCon bills that are not based on POs should be mapped to the non-commitment invoices. Sub-invoices in CoreCon to subcontract invoices in Sage Intacct. There's also some options to choose from when it comes to memo fields. Sage Intacct provides 2 memo fields for most of the transactions, one for the header, one for the line item details. In Sage Intacct, for example, if you go to Bills and select a bill, you're going to see a description found in the header of the bill, and each line item in the bill also has a memo field. As we're setting up these next two sets of options for POs, bills, subcontracts, SCOs, and sub-invoices, you can determine how those memo fields will export to Sage Intacct. Next, we'll go to accounts receivable. The first option is to choose the GL account for your accounts receivable in Sage Intacct. The next is used for prime invoices or revenue only, and that is to choose to use job cost codes or Corecon's owner codes to post data as a prime invoice or customer invoice. I'm going to choose job cost codes. We're also going to have an option to choose the transaction definition for a record related to the accounts receivable posting. And under the post AR transaction object mapping, the same is true. Corecon has several types of prime invoice, and we're mapping most of those to contract invoices, which is a transaction definition in Sage Intacct. The only exception to that would be the contract type called unit price of bill quantities. Those invoices are going to post as a quick bill invoice. Back in Sage Intacct, that means it's going to post, instead of projects, or as mine is called, jobs, to the order entry module. You also have options on the memo fields that will export to Sage Intacct for both change orders and prime invoices. Again, these will be in the header of those records. You can also map a default and individual terms from what's in Corecon to what they're called in Sage Intacct. Next, we'll go over to job to date. Sage Intacct also provides a job to date query that will be associated with a particular date. This will also be used as the end date when querying records from Sage Intacct options. You'll have the option of using today's date or the previous month's ending date. I'm going to use today's date for batch posting. Intacct also provides queries for this job to date costs, and for that to work, we need to map all of the cost of goods sold GL accounts, and more can be added. Now, remember to click Save and then click Home. Now that you've worked your way through these posting preferences, you're now ready to start posting transactions and records. That'll be handled in another video that accompanies this one, where we're going to talk about primarily the batch post wizard and all the other features that work with that. If you'd like to know more about the information in this training video, we encourage you to go to the knowledge base, down to integration and public APIs, to accounting and ERP systems, and to the CoreconLink for Sage Intacct. Information and much more is covered in these knowledge base articles.